Man. Good evening and welcome to the FITT Show. I'm Bobby Special K. Kinzer.
I am Thomas Doty.
And we are the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. Last week, we talked about how to increase your earnings. This week, we're going to talk about, is the bubble about to burst? We're talking about the stock market, where we know a lot of people have a lot of their retirement monies in 401k plans. They're in thrift savings plans, mutual funds, IRAs. A lot of my friends have been asking me, Bob, man, should I be worrying? It seems like, man, the market has been rolling, but is the bubble about to burst? So we're going to have that discussion today. We got a lot of great people out there tuning in around the world. A lot of my friends from England, Scotland are tuning in, and even Amsterdam. So hello to everybody out there in the virtual world. Now, before we begin, we just got a couple of administrative things. If you can just click on the like button as many times as you can, it helps us reach people, gives us traction with Facebook, and click on the heart button. That helps. And look, we always want to make this interactive, so make sure you also put things in the comment box, because we want to hear what you got to say. I mean, if you want to ask us a question, or if you have an opinion or something that we said, or you need clarification, put it in the comment box, because believe it or not, you all, that gives us actual some traction too with the public. And if you're on YouTube, click on the subscribe button, please. We really, really, really would like and appreciate you doing that, because we want to try to reach as many people as we can, because the purpose of our show is we want to help our people get their finances in shape. Isn't that right, Dope?
That's for sure. More money.
More money, more money. And we just know that a lot of people are struggling even before the pandemic. So we're together to show, because we want to provide information, because we know knowledge is power. And we want to empower people, because most people shortcomings come from just making bad decisions in general, but definitely bad financial decisions. So we want to be able to provide you with tools, strategies, and methods that will help you be able to make better financial decisions that will place you in a better position with your finances. And hopefully the goal is that you actually create wealth, and not just wealth, but generational wealth. So that's our background, what we're trying to do with the FITT Show. So we want people, make sure you share this, put it out there to other people, because our people do not share information. We share information that sometimes don't matter. You know, all that stuff on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram. But this is some important information, so please share with y'all. We're just making a plea. And there's nothing in it for us, by the way, Dope, right?
That's for sure. We're not looking to make any money. We're just looking to pass along some knowledge.
So, Dope, with that, like I said, last week we talked about how to increase earnings. Week before that, we talked about how to increase your wealth by cutting spending. But this week, this is a little bit different, Dope. So what do you feel? What's your feelings about the stock market and all of this hype about the bubble is about to burst?
If you look at the current situation, things have been going very, very well for a pretty good while. And you think back to what's happened in the past, you look at the stock market crash of '87, 2008, we were in a pretty rough spot. And the market has been going strong for a pretty good while now. And it's easy not to look at it or not to worry about it because your investments are going up like crazy. I've been making a killing in the stock market. So you tend to not worry about the fact that it's not going to always go up. Common sense will tell you the market is not going to just continue to go up. And so over the last few years, and it's been, I'd say the last 5 years, you've had different sources saying the market is overvalued. The market is about to crash. The market is about to make a correction. And it's made some small corrections, but nothing really big or earth-shattering. And again, it's you don't like to think about it when you're making a lot of money. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. But lately, more of my sources, and when I say my sources, I have a portion of my money professionally managed, and my money managers actually called and asked if I wanted to be more conservative. I subscribe to a couple of publications that give financial advice, and they are talking a little bit more about a bubble, a correction. And so you have to start thinking something's about to happen. That eventually the market is going to make a huge correction. So that's probably where we are right now. I could not tell you when it's going to happen, but we all know it's going to happen at some point.
Well, Dodie, the interesting thing, how you've always been a very aggressive guy, and I've been an ultra conservative guy. So for the past 2 years, I was worrying and hearing from people who are in the market, financial advisors. I mean, major guys that I know personally managing over billions of dollars of assets. And they were saying, go in a cash position because, Bob, the stock market has been going at that time for 8 years. It's never done that. It's got to recorrect, as they call it, itself, or burst, crash. And so because I was already worried and conservative, I was concerned about the market. So I stayed pretty conservative, because I'm retired and it would make sense. So normally I would be in a more aggressive position where I probably would have put 70% in equities and 30% in lower risk government securities or money markets. I sort of switched it. I put about 60% in money markets, low risk, and 40% in equities, because I figured I still would get a part of the return, though, which is not bad, correct? I got 40%, no, right? And I still got my 60. I don't care what you said, though. At the end of the day, I still got my 60%. But the thing is, you all, I missed out on the growth of the market because of that. Now, should I be, super worried about that? Because some people call that opportunity cost. For me, I don't worry about that. For Dope, he like, are you crazy? and Dope, can you share with me because I call Dope Mr. Gutman. He has these stocks, man, that he just does well on. It's amazing. and it works, but Dope, can you share with people right quick before we get into more specifics, being an aggressive person that you are, and I'm being the adverse risk person, right? I told you I've made 40% of the market. Can you share with us how much you made in dollars?
I've made a bunch of money. I mean,
no, stop that bunch of money stuff. Tell us how much. No, okay, I know you don't want to put your stuff out there. So, but go.
Well, I mean, I seriously, and since the market in the last, say, 14 months, I probably made over $1 million in the market, just in increases in the market. I've done really well. My money that's professionally managed has done really well. The money I manage myself has done really well. And I'm able to be aggressive because I'm retired. My kids are done with college. I don't have to pay for college. I
But
got
don't, isn't that counterintuitive? Isn't that counterintuitive? Most people think if you retire that you should not be aggressive. So explain that.
well, okay, and I think I've said before, my mother's 101. So I'm hoping and expecting to live a long life. So the money I have invested, even if there is a correction, I have time to recover because, again, I'm blessed to have a pension and Social Security. So I make enough to live on. So the money I have invested is purely just money I have invested. I don't need it to do anything. So I can take a little more risk than someone else might be able to take. Like you still have to pay for college. You got a wedding down the road. You have things that you have to worry about. I don't have anything I have to worry about,
So
so I can be a little more aggressive.
So in contrast to you, me, and we're just sharing this, you all, for what worked for us. So get this straight, okay? That's all we talking about. And so in contrast, you heard what Dote said he made over a 14-month period. I made over $1 million over a 30-year period. Now, actually over $1 million. But am I happy? You're god daggone right. So who is right? Now, I know Dope may be a little bit more fat and happier, but who's right and who's wrong on this one, right, Dope? So, Dope, let's go into it. Dope.
Okay,
let's go ahead.
No, I'm saying, and that's that's what's important, is that I'm happy with what I'm doing and I'm content. Bob's happy with what he's doing and he's content. And that's what we've always said. You have to find out what works for you and what allows you to sleep at night. That's what's important. We've always preached that to you. Do what makes you comfortable and don't compare. Bob and I never compare ourselves because we're in two different situations. We think differently. A lot of things we agree on, but some things we just have totally different opinions on. And that's all it is. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. He likes vanilla, I like chocolate. It's just a difference.
And that's what we want to go in tonight, to talk about these differences. How does this apply to the stock market where some people can't sleep at night, though? Some people sleeping good as I don't know at night. But when they look at their financial goals, they might be out of line. So let's kick it off, though. Tell me this. With the looming theory that the bubble is about to burst because this market has been going straight up, and has never been straight up for 10 years. What should what should a person do with their current investments and future investments, considering that the bubble might burst at any time?
Okay. There's 4 things you can do if you think about it. You can get out of the market. That's number 1. Number 2, you can do nothing. Number 3, you can be more aggressive. Number 4, you can take a defensive approach. Now, let's walk through each of those. So number 1 is get out of the market. Okay, get out of the market and do what? Right now, money market's paying about 0.5%.
Right.
So we have never been proponents of time in the market. So you get out of the market, when do you go back in? The day you go back in might be the day the correction happens. So I don't really see that as a viable option. Number 2 is do nothing. Okay, in some situations, that might be the best thing to do, but in most cases, doing nothing is usually not good. Number 3 is be more aggressive. The great Warren Buffett, who's made $1 gazillion, one of his theories is you always buy when other people are selling and you sell when other people are buying. And so right now, a lot of people are pulling back. So maybe this is time to be more aggressive. I don't think that's the case. And number 4 is take a defensive approach, and that's go ultra conservative. So it's not quite number 1 where you get out of the market, but you just go more conservative. If your risk level is, say, 70% equities, 30% cash equivalents, you might go 50% equities, 50% cash equivalent. And I'm not really a proponent of that one either. So the answer is not simple. It's very complicated, but there are some things you can do to determine what's best for your situation.
And that's pretty interesting, though. So the answer, and we say this all the time, creating wealth is not easy, you all. But with the proper information, the proper tools, the proper discipline, you can actually figure this out and enter the financial mainstream. So, though, one of the first things that people need to do, if anything, we always talk about this, is you need to review your portfolio to determine how aggressive and how much risk you currently have. Because if it's been a bull market, and if you've been in equities, then your position could have increased way greater in equities, and it's putting you at a higher risk because of the return on the market. And if you didn't look at it, you could be in a higher risk position because, let's say you had 50% in equities and 50% in bonds. The market in equities has been going up and up. So that 50% will probably outgrow the percentage that it was at. So now your mix could be 70% equities because it's outperformed the bonds, and your total mix is now 30% bonds because the equities have increased. That's how you can get out of position. Because if your goal was to not have that much risk, then that's not in line with your goals. So the first most important thing, you got to make sure you review where you are, make sure it's in line with your current financial goals, because you can get out of line with the market performing or not performing. So it's always important, because we are proponents of always reviewing it just to see where it is. You might not need to do nothing, because it's easy to be fat, dumb, and happy when the market is doing great. Because though everybody's boat's been floating and been rising in this environment if they were in equities. Some people didn't even know. I'm talking about you didn't even have to make the decision. I mean, I'm talking about so many stocks that were doing well. There were so many funds that were being managed that these financial managers, they didn't even have to have no major leveraging strategies and all of this risk-based stuff, dope, because the markets were going up.
Right.
But they don't always do this consecutively, you all. So that's why we're trying to share tonight. What should you be considering?
Now, yeah, and Bob, you might think you need to reallocate your funds, because of a downturn. And we don't recommend it. You don't want to reallocate. What you have to do is, when you set up your portfolio, you determine your risk level. We've said this numerous times. You determine the risk level that you're willing to accept, and you stick with that. You don't want to try to judge what the market's going to do or start trying to time the market, because you're not that good. People who are paid to do that can't do that successfully. So no, you don't want to try to rebalance your portfolio to adjust to the market. What you want to do is determine your level of risk, stick to it. And as Bob just mentioned, if your equity gains have skewed your portfolio where it's top heavy with equities, you want to rebalance that to get it back to your acceptable level of risk. And when we talk about acceptable level of risk, we're saying the amount of money that not that you're willing to lose, but that if the market corrects, you won't jump off a building and kill yourself. You're willing to accept that the market's going to correct at some times. Things are going to happen in the economy. Things are going to happen politically. Things are going to happen for a bunch of different reasons that could cause the market to correct. And so it may go down by 10, 15%. And if you have set your risk level equal to something that you can live with, it won't bother you, because over the long term, the market is going to do okay. That's been proven. since 1928, and I don't see any reason why that's going to change in the future. So yeah, you may need to rebalance only to keep, to adjust for the gains you have, but set your risk tolerance, stick to it, and move forward.
Hey, Doe, just want to take a pause in the calls right quick to shout out to our wonderful people that'll be listening. Our good brother Clutch McCargo, our frat brother Rob Robinson, as always. And Terrell said, thanks for all that you all are doing. So thanks for watching, Terrell, which is Dote's.
That's my favorite son-in-law.
Son-in-law. Oh.
That's my favorite son-in-law.
That's just for now, because he's getting ready to get another son-in-law. and Dote, our main man out on the West Coast, Zaid Abdul Kareem. Dr. Zaid said, what's up, fellas? He's watching, man. What's up, Zaid? Our brother who went to Penn State with us. And my homie from D.C. So, Dope, Garnett, who is one of our faithful viewers, says, I know you all, she said, I know you're not here to recommend and suggest whom to invest in. And if you've been on this show, Garnett, we do not recommend products. But Garnett is trying to bait us, Dope. She said, but can you mention some stocks who are doing well? and I just...
And again, it's stocks that me and Bob can talk about stocks, and there'd be stocks that I would look at and be willing to jump into that Bob may not be willing to jump into. So again, it's hard. It's like picking a car for somebody. You have to know what that person likes, how fast they like to go, what comfort level they like, and all those things. So it's really hard to tell somebody what stocks to invest in. I mean, you can look at the Dow 30, and that's what most people consider good stocks, and do a little research, like the stocks that I hold in my Fidelity account that I buy personally. Again, that's apart from what's professionally managed, but they actually tell me what the street consensus is on those particular stocks. For example, I own Microsoft, and they say they're very bullish on Microsoft. I own Peloton, and they're very bearish on Peloton, but I happen to think it's okay, so I'm still in Peloton. And so it's difficult to say what's best for you to invest in, because again, it gets back to what you're comfortable with. And like Bob mentioned, he calls me gut man because I subscribe to a publication that recommends stock. And about a month ago, I got a recommendation for a stock in artificial intelligence. I don't have any artificial intelligence stock, so I thought, I'll invest in that. And it happened to hit. It's doubled in value in 1 month. But again, that was something that was recommended to me through a paid subscription. And I looked at it, did a little research on it, and decided to invest. Now, they recommend a lot. I don't buy everything they recommend, but I look at what they recommend, do some research on it, and decide, is that for me or not? So it's really hard to pick a stock for someone else because it's so personal in nature. Again, I use the analogy of me trying to buy a car for you. It'd be difficult to do not knowing everything that you like.
But this is why we recommend index funds or mutual funds or ETFs. And because index funds attract to the market, Standard & Poor's. And if you look at Standard & Poor's, they're going to have the top 500 stocks in there, like, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, things like that. And those are all stocks that are doing well. And you track to them because they manage in a portfolio of stocks. And that way you don't have all your eggs in one basket. So we always recommend Garnett because it's hard to pick one stock. But this is another method on how to pick one stock, right? Usually, think about the things you use. If you brush your teeth with Colgate toothpaste every day and you're buying it, and your friends use Colgate, doesn't it kind of make sense that I can own part of the company since I'm using the product? The other thing is, for me, I saw this stock, a semiconductor stock, and they were projecting that Apple was going to use it in cell phones, because guess what? Apple, Galaxy, what's the other phone though? They don't make semiconductors. So I'm saying, well, thank you, Android. So I was like, well, maybe this makes sense to invest, because they said what people missed about Apple when it first came out, everybody invested in Apple. But what you should have been thinking about was investing in Intel, because that was a semiconductor chip that was in the phones. So I made a decision to buy NXP, which is out of Holland. And then to come to find out, they're a semiconductor chip that is in mostly all the cars: Mercedes, Lexus, Hondas, hearing devices around the world. So I just lucked up, but I just looked at it that way. I'm like, wait a minute. Semiconductors in every daggone cell phone, and cell phone companies don't make their own semiconductors. So that's just some ideas on how to actually, look at stocks or go to an index fund or mutual fund or ETFs. What is ETFs though? Traded funds, exchange traded funds. Exactly. Works like, and we talked about that before, they work like mutual funds. The only difference is you can get the real price in real time. Mutual funds, you got to wait to the end of the day, and that's the price you get for your shares. So, Doug, I just want to talk a little bit about, let's say you're a person that invested in low risk and low reward investments like government securities, money markets, and you are an ultra conservative person. However, for the past 10 years, you have actually missed out on the growth of the stock market. And Doug, that actually growth in the stock market has been around an average of 10%. And, I'm trying to share, and it didn't let me share that with you. So stick with me here. I want to share this with you all. So, Doug, do you see this graph for stock market?
Yes, it's up.
Huh?
It's up. Yeah, it's showing.
Great. So look at this graph, you all. This is the stock market's performance the past 10 years from 2011. Now look, there's dips, right? The market went down. If you look at this graph, there's dips all in here, but they're peak. But look at it overall, it has been going up, primarily due to concerns that people were worried about losing money. That's why they didn't want to invest in equities in the stock market to take more risk, is because they thought the market was going to crash. They've been saying this for the past 10 years, since Obama. And it didn't do that. So a lot of people missed out. So you can't really time when the bubble is going to happen. This is why we always recommend to be in the market with some equities. This, over time, if you look at this graph, you can see my arrow. From 2014, it dipped. Then it went back up. And then in September of 2016, it dropped, went back up. Then look all the way over here in 2020. And we know where that was. That was in March. But look, the dip didn't even last long. It's been going up ever since. So that's why we actually tell individuals, to be in some equities so that you can reap the rewards. And we know the risk model. The greater the risk, the greater return. And that's why we try to recommend that some people take some risk, because if you're just saving money and a savings account is less than 1%, it is no way you can create wealth just saving money in a savings account. So that's why we recommend these kind of things these kind of methods for people to actually, we put it like this. We want to give you information. We're not just trying to tell you what to do. We want to provide you with information so you make the choice of what you want to do, but it's going to be based off of information. And that's how most people fail with their finances. They fail to plan, for one, they lack information, and then it's misinformation. So that is our charge, and that's what the FITT Show is all about.
Right. You got to get to your risk level. Our approach is to rebalance your portfolio to get to your risk level, get to where you're comfortable, invest over the long haul, and you're going to do all okay. You're in a defensive position all the time if you have your portfolio set to your risk level. Okay, so that may be 50% equity, 60%, 70%, whatever you're comfortable with, but that's where you need to be. Then you can handle the ups and downs in the market. You won't lose sleep when the market makes a correction because you are where you need to be. This is really, we're trying to address two types of people. One is the people who take risk and still believe the bubble's going to burst and feel they should do something. And two is people who are afraid to invest and they keep their money in things that don't make a lot of money and you're missing out. So we would never tell anybody to put all their money in the stock market, but find where you're comfortable, get some equities, whether it's mutual funds, whether it's EFTs, whether it's individual stocks, whether it's a sector fund of a mutual fund or whatever. But you need to be in equities if you want to build wealth, and you need to find your risk level so you can be comfortable with the market's ups and downs.
And that can't be more clearly said, though, because a lot of people's fear is losing money. I get it. I don't want to lose money either, but the way, that you can sort of guard yourself is with information, you all. And that's why we stress understanding your personal risk tolerance. You pick a financial advisor, we always advise, because Dote, as much as well as he done, Dote has an asset manager, and so you can always get more information, you all, because that's all we want to get you to understand. I want to say hello to Mota Steen out there, my FDIC cohort, and my wonderful, wonderful, fabulous, my older sister. She probably don't like me saying that, Linda. She may be old, but she doesn't even look it. She's looking fabulous. So, though, what we're trying to provide is an understanding that no matter what event occurs, whether it's a stock market crash, a presidential election, pandemic, natural disaster, you can protect your assets by keeping your portfolio at an acceptable risk level. That's why it's so important that you review your portfolio and make sure if you have to rebalance. If you don't, if you have the right asset mix, you don't. And which is the amount of risk you're willing to take determines on whether you'll be able to sleep at night. In order to grow your assets, in order to grow your assets optimally, there's no other way to look at it, you all. You must be invested and assume some level of risk. This just is a fact. And I want to share with you a chart that is so interesting because look at this chart. Dote, is it up on the screen?
Yes, it's there.
Look at this chart, you all. At the far left is 1928, showing you the Black Tuesday when the stock market crashed, then Black Thursday when it plummeted too. But if you look at the World War II, the Korean conflict, Cuban Missile Crisis, Iran hostage crisis, Operation Desert Storm, that's with Big Daddy Bush, Blood Monday, attacks on the World Trade Center, right? And then the economic downturn of 2008. Look at this graph, and people would be afraid that these kind of events will cause the stock market. A lot of people misconstrue, like Donald Trump told everybody if he doesn't win the election, the stock market was going to crash. And if you look back over history, this chart doesn't show it, but it is proven that no, the stock market has always done well after almost every presidential election. I wish I had that graph though. But so the misnomer, the myth that, these events, nobody can time the market, you all. We're not that good. But this is showing if you put $10,000 in 1929 and 10,000 just left it there, that over the period of the time, it would have grown to $9.2 million. That's all this is actually trying to show individuals, though. No one's that good at time the market. Me and Dope are not trying to say that we can time the market. But what we are trying to say is if you properly manage your investments, you can take advantage of the growth in the market and still be in a safe position. Am I right, Dope?
That's for sure. That's for sure. You have to be invested over the long haul. You can build wealth.
And we want to say hello to Lynette McMillan, who says, thanks for this financial information. Thanks for joining us, Lynette. And so glad you're out there. Hope our good Penn State alumnus, Dope, Pat, is out there. And she's trying to get on. I hope she got on. So thank everybody for joining. Make sure you click on the like button, you all, and the heart to get more traction. And then we got my main man, Juan Holcomb, to play with me overseas basketball in Scotland. I know he's listening in. And we got a show the first of the month, every Sunday, first Sunday of the month, called On Point Opinions, discussing all kinds of topics of the day. And we actually making sure that people, that knowledge is power. Empowering people with knowledge is our theme with On Point Opinions. So go out there and check that out on the first month at 6 p.m., first Sunday of every month, On Point Opinions. Just want to give that plug. But, so Dope, let's take this home as we always do, my brother. We talked about some good information, Dope. I mean, a lot of people, Dope, are really panicking and sitting on eggs because at the FDIC, Dope, I had a lot of people coming to me because they never taught people how to manage their money in the thrift savings plan because that's not their position. So mostly everybody took the conservative approach and put their money in the G fund, which was government security, which was the lowest risk. And if I'm right, over the past, I don't know, a few years, it's been averaging maybe 1%, maybe 2%. The stock market, as we said, over the past 10 years has been averaging 10%. But that doesn't mean that there wasn't other highs. I mean, there was highs of, I know one particular fund, Fidelity Growth Fund, it returned 45% last year, though. The year before.
Bob, that's the average market. Keep that in mind. That's the average. So that's the good offset by the bad. So
the 10% we're talking about, right?
Yeah, I've done better than 10% because I'd like to think I pick, and my money manager, who better because I'm paying them, are doing better than average. So 10% is the average. That's everything. Good, bad, companies that go under. You hope to do better than average if you pick good stocks, if you pick good mutual funds. Bob was mentioning Fidelity Growth Fund. Fidelity has several funds that have done quite well.
They're great money managers. Vanguard.
So the 10% is the average. That's just the average. And that's truly average.
The C fund for the thrift savings plan, 1 year, like I forgot last year, year before last, returned 35%. That's the thrift savings plan, the C fund. You know what I mean? Managed by T. Rowe Price. So the name of the game, you all, is review, look at your risk tolerance, and let's take this home, though. Okay. Let's take this into after you, Dope.
Okay, first one, and we hope if you get anything else from today's talk, stock market's a proven method to develop and increase wealth over time.
Next, determine your risk level and keep your investment at that level of risk. Don't let conditions, events, market situations deter you from what your strategy was. And if it's working, why change it?
Do not think you're smart enough to try to time the market. You can't. Please don't try. You want to consistently invest at your acceptable level of risk.
Next, get relevant information and consistently review to ensure the appropriate asset allocation. That is the key, you all, to make sure that, for one, your funds are performing in accordance with your financial goals. And that way, you then need to ensure, if they're not, then ensure that they're appropriately managed with the right asset allocation.
Don't overreact to the ups and downs in the market, because whatever reaction you make after a big up or down will probably be a very poor decision. Keep a level head, stay consistent while managing your investments.
And most people's decisions, bad decisions, don't come from hastily made decisions. You know, sometimes you just need to be patient and step back and think it over, get more information before you act. Nothing is that of the urgent need that you got to immediately make decisions. Don't feel you can do that because, like we said, nobody can time the market. The thing is, just be consistent with your goals, with your plan, and the management of your assets. So, aggressive people make money, conservative people make money, but people that don't do nothing, they get just that. So, Dope, is there anything you'd like to add tonight before we call it quits?
No, I think we covered everything we tried to cover today.
And as we always say, please tune in. We're here every Thursday at 8 p.m. It's called the FITT Show, financial information for today and tomorrow. We want to thank everybody who, as you always do, y'all come in and listen, and we just hope that you pass this information on, because our show is to the young, it's to the old. You know what I mean? It's to the smart and the not so smart. And we just try and provide as much information so people get their finances in shape. Thus, the FITT Show. So tune in next week. Dope, another great show, man. Just wonderful information. And next week's show, we promise to be even more engaging and more exciting. So take care and peace to all.